Julian Rosen is a writer, speaker, and coach who specializes in helping stressed out entrepreneurs to build thriving businesses. Through his revolutionary coaching platform, the Fearless Life Project, Julian helps entrepreneurs to optimize their clarity and performance while counteracting effects of stress, anxiety so they can grow and scale with confidence. As a business owner with anxiety, Julian is committed to connecting with and supporting other entrepreneurs who are passionate about building their bold vision in a powerful and fulfilling way. Julian, you ready to rock this?
Let's do it.
Do it. We doing it. We're born ready. Born ready. Dude, you are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us today and delivering massive value about being fearless to our audience, dude. Thank you.
Oh, man, my pleasure. And, man, I don't know when the first time we linked up was, but I was like, shit, man, I think our computers almost exploded, right? Like, it was just so much back and forth and so many similarities in terms of what we were doing. But the beautiful thing is yours is a little different than mine, and mine's a little different from the next person, right? Like, man, we're all trying to do very similar things in terms of what we're trying to awaken within people. Yeah. But like, dude, we're all so beautifully different in doing that. And so whatever is inside of me recognized it inside of you. And I was like, same path, different set of directions. Like, yeah, let's combine and you know, let people see these different ways, because people are going to pull different things from different coaches or from different leaders or from different influencers. And it's like, cool, there is no one right way. Find the one that like speaks right to you and run with that. So, dude, happy to be here. This has been a long time coming.
Yes, man. And dude, I just really want to acknowledge you for all the content that you put out. Is just amazing, man. Your heart is so present in everything you do. The quality, the video, the animations and graphics and everything you do, dude. I look at it, I'm like, damn, I want my videos to be more like Julian's. His stuff's on point. So I really acknowledge you for standing out in that way, man. You're really just setting the bar super high, dude. Really appreciate it.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. And dude, likewise, right? Like, I love video, and I can see them as I record them. I'm like, I'm going to put this funny thing here, and I'm going to put this Leonardo DiCaprio getting eaten by a bear thing here. Like, I could see that happening. Whereas, like, dude, if I could rock the mic and I could lead an interview like this and put out audio like you, same thing, man. I'm like, shit, I want a cool thing behind me when I do stuff. Like, the real, recognize, real.
Yes, man. Thank you. So, dude, we're awesome. We're rocking it. And everyone who's listening, you're awesome. You're rocking it. Whatever level you're at, everyone has their own challenges, their own benefits, their own things, whatever it is. So it's perfect. Everyone's at the perfect spot at the perfect time. And we are going to dive into the question of the day now, and that is the power of silence. So, Julian, how has this concept of the power of silence, how has silence helped you discover yourself? How has it helped you in your work? How has it helped you with your clients, your life, your philosophy? How has silence made a difference for you?
So, it just feels so good.
Yes.
It feels so good. So, but for me, right, there's literal silence. Mm-hmm. Stillness, but actually when you can intentionally create silence in your life, meaning stop utilizing the distractions to distract, what happens is you come face to face with what you're being called to do every single time. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your noise is. For some, it's playing the comparison game. For some, it's drugs and alcohol. For some, it's this consumer culture where, you kind of endure a job you don't like so you can get home and consume Netflix or go out on the weekend and consume movies or brunch, right? Like, so silence creates that space for you to actually hear your calling. And we've all heard it, but it's like you're cramming it down with noise and distraction, and it finally comes up. And I know after hearing your story, right, like some people it takes a kick in the butt
does.
And life will force silence upon you, or you can choose to create it. But really, and I shared my story with you after I lost my mom to breast cancer, man, I manufactured silence in my life because there was something calling me. And once I did that, it stung at first, which is why I think a lot of people avoid it, because there's fear there. But once I leaned into it, I mean, dude, it revolutionized everything I do. It revolutionized my professional life and the steps I took there. And obviously, as I took the step into entrepreneurship and started my business, that was all direct result of silence. When I speak with clients now that I serve, a lot of the answers they're seeking outside themselves, if I can position the right question and create silence, what happens? That answer that they think they needed someone to give them, they manufacture it, they self-generate it. And I mean, just on a daily basis, man, when I wake up, I create silence. I meditate, I journal, I stay away from my phone, because silence brings out the real me. Distraction brings out the fear, fight or flight, stimulus, overload me. So to answer your question, man, silence has been the game changer. Dude, I mean, you were gone for what, 10 days? I'm sure I'm sure your life changed, right? Yes. Manufacturing silence is the most profound way to create epic change in the most important facets of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And I also hear the space, you mentioned about space. If something doesn't have the space to arise, it will stay constricted, it will stay tight, and like you said, kind of you wake up and you're on your phone, you're busy, you're in this unconscious autopilot, you don't even give yourself space to arise to your greatest possible self because you're too busy being your old self. You don't give yourself that space, that breathing room. So I love that, man. It's freaking powerful.
And dude, I was on a call with a client today, and he's like, dude, because I have them all do habits right in the morning to create space and stillness. And he's like, I saw the circus. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, when I wake up, typically what happens is I get swept up, and he calls it the circus, but it's this mixture of stress and anxiety and fear and the to-do list and all these worst case scenarios. And he's like, I call that the circus. He's like, today I created space through silence, and I saw the circus, and I didn't get lost in it. And I was like, dude, this is me too. I'm like, awesome.
Revolution.
Yeah. So, but it really, truly, if you're I don't know what needs to change, it's we'll create some silence and it will become abundantly clear, and then you can take action on it. But, you gotta sit with a little bit, and that's the uncomfortable part. So there's a small leap of faith. Yeah. Totally worth it.
Yeah. And what you mentioned about you ask someone a question, and then in the silence that answer can arise, right? It can come out. It's so interesting. I've worked with some clients who are so quick to answer the question, so quick to be like, right, yeah, yep, right? And it's they always cut the space off. They're like, no, I'm not comfortable with the space, or yes, I know that, or their mind is so quick to just say, no, I'm not, I don't want anything else. This is the default. And if we give ourselves that space, there's so much juice in there. There's so much profound truth and clarity and transformation.
Yeah, and as you know, how you communicate is how you view the world, right? The words you use and how you use them. So if someone is so eager to fill the space to avoid the silence, that's an indicator that on the back end, right, in all facets of their life, they're probably doing some version of that, right? So it's okay, what else? Let's what else? You know what I mean? Keep positioning questions until they have to be what else is there? I don't have a quick answer for this, right? But yeah, this is something you can do in the container of a coach. Yeah. But this is deep work you can do on your own, right? Yes. You know what I mean? This isn't reserved for the those who are ready to jump into a really immersive experience. This is if you're watching this and you felt it, whatever it is, it can be a calling, it can be a shift, it can be a change that wants to happen. You got to give it the space it needs to formulate in your life. And that's silence. Yeah.
And more practical real quick. And then I want to dive into, more about what you're doing, Fearless Life Project. But the strategy that I would use is write down a question and just sit with it. Don't freaking do anything. Write down a question on your paper. Don't respond, and just let the silence and breathe and just tune into your body and just be present and just allow that to come up for you. That'd be like a great way that I would go about doing that. But dude, this is the goal. Diving into silence, juicy. If y'all are liking this, make sure to give a thumbs up in the Facebook, or listening to the YouTube, or watching the replay, whatever it might be, listening to the podcast. Just let us know, throw a comment, throw a thumbs up, because this is some gold already. So much fun. So Julian, tell us about who you are, man, what you're up to, what you're creating.
Oh man, who I am. Well, I am a lot of things, man. I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an overcomer. I am a fiance, soon to be husband. I'm a son. But yeah, what I'm up to specifically is growing. Yeah, the Fearless Life Project is growing. I mean, for me, dude, it's a shift. It's a shift, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge to, hey, when you're in school, you're crammed with all these facts and all these figures and all these cool formulas, but you're never taught that you have a choice. You can actually change your relationship with fear and doubt and all these negative things. Whereas I say it's like a fire alarm response. When most people feel fear or anxiety or doubt, right? Like when you hear a fire alarm, what do? It's like, oh, got to get to the exit, right? Like you don't even stop and think. And that's when people feel fear, they're like, I'm immediately going to embody it and act it. And man, it impacts every human being across the board. But for me, being an entrepreneur who has dealt with depression, who's dealt with anxiety, I'm like, and dude, I'm sure anybody who's creating something that does not yet exist, right? Like anybody, whether it's a business, whether it's an event, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a show, when human beings come face to face with uncertainty, they are programmed to go into fight or flight. They are programmed to go into fear. They are programmed to activate a whole bunch of default autopilot sequences that screw them out of success. Like that screws them out of greatness, right? Totally. And so what I do when I work with someone, or even when I'm like creating content, what is happening in the back of my head is like, I need to remind this person that the success they want is simply the result of the actions they're taking. That is it, right? Like if you want to see why things are going well, cool. Look at your actions and pat yourself on the back. You want to see what's not going well? Cool. Go look at your actions. Like nothing happens on accident. So, and so what is the heaviest influencer of your actions and your habits? Mind. It's what you think about, and it's what you believe. And so really it's this two-pronged approach where it's like, hey, don't allow this negative stuff to happen on autopilot. Challenge it, disprove it. How do you disprove it? Well, man, you have examples in your head of times that you have been great, or that you have risen to the occasion, or that you have been good enough, right? But then you also have to implement it into your life. You have to start living it proactively. You have to, and we spoke about this, man, like what is the fearless version of yourself doing right now? You have to do that. And once you do that, your brain will play catch up. Your brain will be like, oh, this is who we are now. This is how we roll. I better develop new circuits. I better develop new habits, because this is who I am. And so, and so that's what I'm doing with really purpose-driven and impact-driven entrepreneurs and business owners, because again, it's like, man, they go face to face with uncertainty and fear on an almost daily basis. And if they don't have the tools, if they don't have the strategies and the shifts to actually navigate those situations when fear is present and it impacts their decisions and actions, well, hey, they could totally be screwing themselves out of taking massive action that will then produce massive results. You know what I mean? Yes, man. So when we're equipped, we'll be able to create the result that we want. But so many people are unconscious to their equipment, their thoughts, their mental patterns, their conditioning, and they're like, "Why the heck am I not getting the results that I want?" It's because you're not aware. These people, not you, not anyone listening, of course, none of us. Anybody, and but you're right. I call it the software. Like, hey, if you had a software running your phone and it kept screwing it up, wouldn't you want to look and be like, well, what is the software? Can I change the software? Is there a better software? And there is. And there truly is. And it comes from self-work. It comes from creating space and stillness. It comes from identifying when fear is present and taking action in spite of it, right? And
real quick, I love this because what I hear is personal responsibility. So many people are like, oh, it's the fault of that, it's the circumstance, it's the thing outside of myself that's causing this, versus what's my software, what can I change, what can I shift, who can I become so that this is no longer a problem or obstacle.
100%, because man, once you take that ownership, you get every single ounce of power back that you've been giving away.
Yeah.
But when you take that ownership, you get the power back, which is amazing and great, and let's have a party. But at the same time, it stings because you also have to take ownership from some of the things that aren't going that well.
Yep.
And so, again, there's that leap of faith. It's like, hey, you want all the power? Great. You can create anything you want. But, hey, it's going to sting because you also have to take ownership of some of the stuff that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you're like, it's such a good deal. Just take the ownership and get the power. But so many people are reluctant to take that deal because the stinging on the front end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think so many people see the cost of ownership more than the benefit. You know, they're like, responsibility? No way. Like, let them be responsible. Yeah. Let him be responsible. I don't want to be responsible. That's not my problem, right? You know, people walking down the side of the street, there's someone who's getting like hurt or attacked or something like that. Not my responsibility. That's like totally the mindset of the built bullshit that's going on in the world today, because everyone's like, it's not my responsibility.
Yeah, 100%. And man, I was just writing about this today. Like I am the most empathetic person to someone out there who is frustrated, who is in distress. Like, I feel for you. I've been there, but at the same time, like, this comes from a place of love. Like, stop hiding behind your circumstances, because yes, like, everyone has their stuff. Everyone is busy. Everyone has time constraints. Everyone has obstacles. Everyone has baggage, right? And if you look at any successful person, you're like, man, if I could only be like that person. Well, hey, you can. But that person stepped out. The only difference between you and that person is that person made the bold decision to step out from behind those circumstances and take ownership. And yes, it probably stung up front. But hey, look, you can see the rewards on the back end. It doesn't matter if it's an athlete or, you know, an Elon Musk type of like mogul, or, you know, just someone in your neighborhood. You're like, man, Bill always seems happy and he's really healthy and takes ownership of his body. Like, what's up with Bill, right? It's like, I can tell you what's up with Bill. Like, Bill stepped out. Bill stepped out from behind his circumstances.
Again and again and again and again, and became that person who steps out. That's who he is. That's his identity. He shifted himself at the identity level.
Yeah. And it wasn't just, you're right, dude, that's huge. He didn't step out once and say, okay, I did it. Where's all my results, right? He's like, man, he probably took it on the chin for a while, and he probably still takes it on the chin, because as you grow and evolve, it's just different layers.
There's another level.
Yeah. And so I tell everyone I work with, man, it's like, the fear doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. The anxiety doesn't mean you're in over your head. The doubt doesn't mean you're not equipped. It simply means your brain is a human brain, and it's going to throw this resistance at you because it wants to keep you nice and cuddled in this safe, nice little, you call it your comfort zone, because it's just trying to help you survive. It's like it's like an overprotective grandma. It's like, don't do that, right? And so it really is this. It's not this declaration that you have to listen to. It's really your brain's suggestion to settle. Like, fear is your brain's invitation to settle for less than you truly deserve. That's how I define fear.
No.
And once you can see it like an invitation or a suggestion, no thanks, I got this to do. No thanks, I got this to do. No thanks, I got this to do. Right? And when you can do that consistently, I call, it is like flexing a muscle. It gets stronger and it gets stronger, and the fear gets a little quieter, and the fear gets a little quieter. And before long, fear just becomes your compass, because if fear only chimes in when you're on the verge of leaving what's known, comfortable, and predictable, cool, you're exactly where you're meant to be.
Right. Damn.
So it's this total transmutation of fear, anxiety, doubt, struggle, imposter syndrome is this thing that's holding me back to, oh, hey, it's this nice little kind of, it's like bumpers in the bowling lane. It's like kind of telling me when I'm veering close to something amazing and kind of nudging me the right way. And once that shift happens, I'm sure you've experienced your own version of this. Like, limitless, man. Truly, truly limitless.
That's right, baby. That's right. So, Julian, dude, you're spitting some fire right now. Love it, love it, love it, dude. And let's go back a little bit. We want to hear more about your story, your journey, how you got to where we are today, and why you're doing the things that you're doing today, dude.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And I love it because everyone has an amazing story, right? If you create enough silence, you will hear an amazing story. And so really for me, I mentioned that, when my mom passed away, everything changed, and it came out of nowhere. And I know people have lost people, right? And I was 23, so it's not like I was a kid. But I was such a huge mama's boy. Like, I was just like, this woman was my world. And I know Mother's Day is coming up. Like, I still miss her every day, but yeah, like, man, within 12 months, she went from diagnosis to she had breast cancer. So like double mastectomy, harsh treatments, wheelchair. Like, I just saw her slowly and systematically be kind of stripped of all the things that made her a mom, right? Like her ability to nurture and her ability to care and all these things. And it just tore me up inside. And then when she passed away, dude, total victim mode, right? Like, that's who I was. The guy I chose to identify as the guy whose mom died. I was like, that's who I am. And fear was really my MO. Like, I was like, whoa, what? I was asking myself, what bad thing can happen to me if I do this or if I do this? And eventually I fell into depression. And eventually, I was put on medications for anxiety. And so I found myself in this place where I was like, this isn't who I am. This isn't what I'm meant to be. I'm not some label. I'm not some disease. I'm not some condition. Like, that's the chemical makeup I have going on right now. But I had this weird awareness. I was like, and this is before I got into the personal development game. This is just me, like, going on my own. I was like, this isn't who I am. And these pills don't make me feel any better. They numb me, but they don't make me feel any better. Something's going on here. And dude, truly what happened is, like, it literally got to that point where I was like, I can't do another day of this. It's either making a huge drastic change or laying in bed till I croak. Like, I was sick of it. And what happened is I was like, okay, cool. I guess you could call this rock bottom. What big, bold action can I take? Because I really don't care what happens anymore. I don't care if I lose all my money. I don't care. Right? Like, I really just got to this really raw place of, like, I can't get hurt any more than this unless a truck hits me and I die, which in this case, like, I really wouldn't mind because life isn't great right now. So, man, I had this bold vision in my head of being like a personal trainer. And I had never been a personal trainer. I just really liked fitness. And I was like, screw it. That's what I'm going to do right now. And I started, like, and on paper it looked stupid because I had this kind of cushy sales job and I was making okay money. And like, if I stayed there, I probably would have been on a nice, easy track and I could have just laid low. But I quit and I walked away from it. And I just took this bold action and I started, applying for positions I was unqualified for. And just, like, when I acted in the face of fear, something really amazing happened. And just opportunities started to line up. As long as I kept taking action and kept putting in energy, things lined up. And within a year, I was running a gym. I was the director of fitness for Under Armour. Damn. And I was coaching other personal trainers on how to build their business and how to build their clients. And I was doing all this great stuff. And I'm like, awesome. And then I had another bold vision. I was like, uh-oh. I thought I made it. What am I doing? And I had this other bold vision about leading a bigger tribe. So I'm like, I got to go online. I need to reach more people. Yeah. So I started a blog. And I knew nothing about blogging. I knew nothing about websites, right? Like, again, on paper, this did not look like the smart move, but my intuition, my gut was like, this is what you got to do. And fear was like, don't do it. And I was like, decline the invitation.
Thank you.
Take the action. And then the blog turned into an online training company where I was coaching individuals remotely. And that's where I really got my feet wet in entrepreneurship. And then again, like, fear was like, okay, cool. You did it. Like, just stay low. And I'm like, no, I'm going to grow this bigger. I quit my actual in-person coaching job, went all in on my business, moved to Hawaii, right? Like, on paper, like, kind of cool stuff, but not safe, not predictable. But again, like, I could feel fear being like, don't do it. Yeah. And almost to spite it, I was like, therefore I must do it. Yeah. And then what truly happened is, grew the business, was in Hawaii, was living the entrepreneurial digital nomad dream, right? But I woke up one day and I was like, this isn't it. This is not it. And fear wants me to keep doing this, but there's truly something bigger. There's a bigger transformation that I need to spark inside of people. And that's when I really had to create a lot of intentional silence to figure out what that is. And it was hard at first, and it was scary at first because there's so much uncertainty and there's so much fear. And out of that came the Fearless Life Project, where I looked back on my journey. I looked back on really what I was good at and what I loved doing. And and all the pieces made sense. Like, I had done my own transformation. I had a background in behavioral science. That's what I have my degree in. I have been geeking out on personal development and the neurological, like the stuff that happens in your brain as you transform. Like, I was like, I could package this up and save lives. I could package this up and guide people through it. I can use this. And that's when it hit me. I was like, what population deals with the most stress, the most anxiety, the most uncertainty, the most doubt? Hey, it's someone who had a bold idea, whether it was a business, a service, a product, a show, an event, a platform. Man, that person's up against it. That person, their software is probably going crazy trying to hold them back. Fear is probably slapping them in the face every step of the way. I'm like, if I can put that person, the greatest version of that person, the fearless version of that person, in the driver's seat to make decisions, to take actions, to communicate with clients, that person's going to get it done. That person is going to grow their income, grow their impact, change lives in a fulfilling way, while actually enjoying this life they're working so hard to build. And so if you're following this, like, it started when my mom died. And I was like, the fear cannot win any longer. Like, the settling cannot happen any longer. And the formula here is taking the bold action in the face of fear, even if the next steps aren't as clear. But as long as you have a direction in that first step in front of your face, take it and trust that your ambitions, your goals, your dreams, they aren't on accident. They were put there intentionally by something larger than you. And that thing has your back as you grow.
Totally. And that's so key, is that vision. Like, one of the things we do with our clients is get them clear on their vision first. Where do you want to go? What's the direction that you're moving in to become your greatest possible self? Who is that person? If you don't have clarity on that, then you're just like wandering around. I mean, you could say, well, I want a better life. That's a good first step. It's a step in the right direction, but like, what does that look like? What are the specifics of that? And you were mentioning bold action, taking you set the vision. This is what I want to do. I want to impact lots of people. I don't know what it looks like. Boom, I have an idea, start a show, start a blog, start whatever, coaching, a business, whatever it might be. And then all that fear comes up, all the resistance comes up, all the BS, all the you're not good enough. And then, Julian, you're like, dude, if you step into that fearless self, what would that person do? How would that person respond in this circumstance and instance?
And the reason why I'm so passionate about the coaching platform that I've created is because it's not the easiest thing to do. But once you do it a couple times and you have a little support structure guidance, then it happens. Then you get momentum. Then you take off the training wheel. So that's why I'm working so hard to put out the content and to really grow my coaching reach and obviously start groups and stuff like that and mastermind groups, is because inertia versus momentum, right? Like, inertia, if your car broke down on the side of the road, like, inertia is, it takes a lot of energy up front to get it moving. Right. But then, hey, momentum, once it's moving, it takes a lot less energy to keep it moving, right? And so, what I really do is, like, I help you get over that initial inertia, because once you have the momentum, man, you can implement these steps on your own. You can implement this system on your own, right? So, it truly is a shift that's a gift that you just get to use over and over and over again. And I just made that rhyme right now.
That was great.
I may trademark that and sell it to like Tony Robbins, but but it truly is. It becomes an asset. It becomes a skill that no one can. It's yours forever, right? It's like a really awesome joke. Like, that's yours. Like, cool. Like, you don't need me anymore. Like, I'm here to help. But that's my goal when I work with anyone, is like, man, I want you to be this self-reliant, self-sustaining thing. Because
so what kind of things do your clients and people you work with put in place to create that system? Like, what is that usually comprised of? How do they get through that inertia and then stay in the momentum?
Yeah. So similar to And I use a hunting analogy, even though I've never been hunting in my life. But like, so when you hunt for pheasants, right? Like you have a dog and the dog kind of runs into the bush and that scares the pheasant out. And then you're like, okay, there's the pheasant. Now I can hunt it. Right. And so first things first is like, okay, yeah, get clear on what you truly want. Right. And because it's something they want, they don't yet have. Why don't you have it yet? Okay, there is a fear somewhere, or else you would have taken the action, right? So it's like, okay, so based on this goal you want to accomplish, this shift you want to create, what is something you can do this week to make that happen? And they'll say, okay, I could do 5 Facebook Lives. Or I'd be like, okay, cool. Why haven't you done 5 Facebook Lives yet? And then they'll kind of rattle off some things up front. And it's like, no. Why really haven't you? Right? Like I don't like, you could make time if you wanted. You could find a good internet connection. Like why? And they'll be like, well, like I'm afraid that you know, if I put my voice out there, my friends are going to be like, hey man, like that message stinks, or you know, like, well, a lot of people that I work with, it's like, man, I'm afraid to put my message out because I'm growing and my friends aren't, and they're going to ridicule me. So it's like, okay, cool. So assigning the action is like the dog scaring the pheasant out. And then once the pheasant's out there, we can look at it and we can say, okay, so you're fearing being judged here. And if we can reduce that fear to something logical that you can make a decision on, right? Like you can make a rational decision, well, then you can take action on it. But as long as it remains this kind of scary, foggy sensation, you can't address it. So if we're like, okay, if you have a fear of being judged, and I can tell you that fear is this primal, outdated survival mechanism from the cavemen, because back then, if you were judged, you were thrown out of your caveman crew, and if you were thrown out of your caveman crew, you got eaten or you froze to death. Right? And so it's like literally ingrained in your DNA. So I give you that power. I'm like, okay, here's actually what's happening with your software. It thinks that there is a huge life-threatening danger on the other end. Can you agree with me that the worst thing that can happen is maybe someone doesn't like your content? They're like, yeah, you're right. And then I say, and what's the best case scenario here? Like, what if you see the fear invitation, decline it, and take this action? What do you possibly have to gain? And they're like, well, someone could love the message and they could reach out and we could collaborate, or by getting the reps, I refine my message and I get better at delivering it, or man, it just feels good to be productive and taking action in alignment with my real goals. I'm like, cool. So look at all this stuff to be gained. Worst case scenario, maybe someone doesn't like it. Do you see how much power you're giving away to this fear that is overreacting to a threat that isn't really real? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so let's do this thing. And then they do it. And what happens is it's going to be a little uncomfortable on the front end. There's a little bit of a sting. They do it. And then once they've done it, I say reaffirm your okayness, meaning like let your brain know that it was overreacting to nothing, right? And then once you do that, again, like you literally rewire your brain, because all of these overprotective, you know, fear-based circuits kind of down-regulate, and new ways of thinking come into your brain. Like, wait, I just did a Facebook Live. Wait, I just did 3. Wait, 2 weeks have gone by and I've done 10. Your brain's like, oh, I'm the Facebook Live person now.
Wait, I've done 52 12-hour marathons. What?
Yeah. Like I'm that guy, right? And I use the metaphor of like, I don't know if you remember like jumping off the diving board, but like when I was learning to jump off the diving board, man, I was so scared. I like crept up to the edge and kind of like needled in and then swam right to the side. And I was like, hey, we're okay. So I got back in line and I jumped a little bit further and I swam to the edge and I was like, brain, we're okay. And then I got back and like, boom. And each time you jump further and farther and bolder, and before you know it, you're just cannonballing like a total boss. Right. But it's the same way. It's like, hey, if we can talk this down and we could use our rational mind to make a decision here and take action and reaffirm how okay we are on the other side of that action, the fear that was holding you from that action loses its grip. And again, the real you gets to be in the driver's seat again. And so that's what we do. That's what we do with their business goals. That's what we do with their marketing goals. That's what we do with their personal goals. If they're really reluctant to get in the gym, why? Right? Like why? And then it's the same thing, right? Like, okay, get there and go and just hop on a machine for 30 minutes. Okay, hop on a machine for 45 minutes. Okay, get in there and do these 4 things. Get in there and do these 5 things, right? And in a matter of a month, the person who is terrified to get into the gym is in there 3 to 4 days a week. They're dapping up the guy behind the front desk. Yep. They're, I have all my clients track their progress, right? Like they're adding weight to the bar. I'm like, hey, a month ago, you wouldn't have stepped foot in there, right? So it literally is a rewiring of the brain, but like, I also think it's an unleashing of your greatness, right? Like neurologically, scientifically, we can see your brain changing, but on a spiritual level, like who you are is getting turned up to 10. Who you are is becoming more fearless. Who you are is becoming bolder and in more alignment with the real you that's trying to get out.
Yeah. You mentioned tracking progress. I'm curious, like, how does that play into dealing with fears? You know, tracking progress, looking at the wins, the steps that we've taken. How does that relate to fear?
Yeah. So because there's certain things that's hard to quantify, right? Like especially with the work you do, like you create these amazing emotional shifts.
Right.
It's like, it's not like, hey, I lost 10 pounds or I made $10,000. It's like, I love the life I live. I don't know how to quantify that. But yeah, as far as tracking goes for me and my programs, it's like, so we'll always track your habits, right? I have everybody, it's called the Fearless 5. It's a morning routine. And it's like at the end of the week, I have them fill out a form and it's like, how many? How, like if you're doing 5, there's 35. How many did you get this week? And because there's a direct correlation with how many of those you're getting done and who's running the show. Is it the fear-based you or the real you, right? Because to wake up early and do those habits, you're going to get that voice that says, go back to bed. You're going to get that voice that says, today's just too much for me. I'm going to skip this stuff today, right? Like, so there's a lot of indicators that we use. So the habits is one of them. And then every week I have, there's 3 big tasks that I have everybody do. And it's customized to obviously what they're doing, but each of those 3 tasks, I call them power tasks, but it's just something that moves you forward, right? So like replying to email is not a power task, right? But like, creating a referral campaign or, outlining the copy of a website or doing 10 cold calls, right? Like those are power tasks. And at the root of each of those power tasks, why they haven't been done is some type of fear. And so if I can check in with you the following week and say, here's the 3 power tasks, where are you with them? And if they can say, I did this one, and this one's halfway done, I will know that a shift is happening. I will know. And so it really is. So there is that objective feedback, like, hey, how many of your tasks are you doing? How many of your workouts have you got in? How many of your power tests have you completed? Because again, that some degree of fearlessness is required to stay consistent with growth. Like that's, but at the end of the day, a lot of it is subjective, meaning like, how did you feel when you woke up? And when my clients like, I saw the circus, but I didn't get swept up in it. I didn't let negativity and doubt and my to-do list overwhelm me. Like, yeah, I may not be able to quantify that and track that, but if you can tell me that's happening on a daily basis, we're winning. You're winning. You're growing. So there is a mixture there. You know what I mean? Of like, okay, non-negotiable. We can track these numbers. We can kind of gamify it, but at the same time, like, dude, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Right. Like if you can describe that for me in a couple words, and it's like, okay, I got you. You're winning. You're doing it. Yeah.
Like as a coach, it's really cool to hear when people say what they think that a coach wants to hear, or like what they actually feel. It's like we can totally call them out on their BS. It's like, no, you say you're doing great. I'm great. It's like, no, bull. I'm gonna call you out on that.
Challenge them, challenge them and then create some space, man, and let the truth kind of fill that void. So, so getting some of that just no BS subjective feedback as well. Yeah, obviously is really huge when you're dealing with growth and transformation that goes beyond just X's and O's sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm curious, kind of getting more into the reprogramming of our minds. Is there anything else that we can do to really fast track us, or like bust through fear that you found that we can really step into, take action on, or shifts that we can create on our end?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, because what I found is we kind of already know the stuff to do, but we don't know what to do when our brain tells us not to do it, if that makes sense, right? So it's like, again, it goes back to owning the software that you have. So just know, like, let's say you've tried to lose weight 100 times. You've tried to get into a fitness routine and really honor your physical self many, many times. And every time something sideswipes you, something throws you off, something causes you to revert back. Anybody embarking on any type of journey, whether it be, again, professional, personal, physical, they're working on themselves because they want to find an amazing relationship, whatever it is. I always say this, it's not a matter of if, like, the resistance will happen when you're on the verge. The resistance will happen, the doubt, the negativity, the discomfort, hey, quitting seems like a really good idea for a lot of good reasons. Like, all of that will, like, just trust that the second you're on the verge of shedding a layer, that's going to happen. And when it does, high five yourself, because you've gotten to where you need to be. And nothing needs to change in terms of, like, the only thing, like, just keep being consistent. Just keep being consistent. And so, like, it's such an overly stated, non-sexy thing, but, like, consistency on top of knowing that when that negativity hits, it's not a sign to quit. It's not a declaration that you're in over your head or you're weak or you're not suited for this. It literally truly is your brain craving safety, trying like hell, making one last ditch effort to pull you back to a cycle of mediocrity. That is it.
Damn.
That is it. And if you can acknowledge that, and then, hey, when it hits you, instead of being blindsided and being like, I better pack it up, you're like, cool, there it is. Awesome. I'm leveling up.
Yes.
Like, that literally is it. It's like, dude, I know you geek out on video games. It's like, what happens at the end of any level? Who do you face?
The boss, baby.
The boss, man. So it's like, you're going to get the boss. So it's like, you're going through the level, you're doing your habits, you're going to the gym. All right. Whoa, who is this?
All of a sudden.
The music changes and it gets darker and it's like, uh-oh. But, like, think about it that way. Yeah, you're going to face the boss before getting to a newer, more leveled up version.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, like, keep doing what works. We know what works. It's just, we don't know what to do when we think it's not working. When in reality, it's like, no. That negativity, the urge to self-sabotage, that is just a foolproof indicator you're where you need to be. Keep doing what you're doing, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, dude, that's freaking awesome, man. So I'm curious, what has been one of the most difficult lessons for you to learn on your journey of becoming fearless? Yeah,
so the first thing right off the bat is, it's not a one and done thing, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to face this fear, I'm going to take this action, and I've made it, and I'm done, and life is finally going to be easy. It's like, no. Yep. You have to accept that, again, it's as long as you choose to keep growing, you're going to keep getting fear, you're going to keep getting these things. Embrace that. And in terms of, like, making it or finally getting there so life is easy, you got to get rid of that conditional living, right? It's the same thing as the guy who's like, I'm going to work 40 years in a job I hate because once I retire, then I can travel and paint and hang out with my kids. Whereas it doesn't work like that. That dude on the last day of that 40th year could get hit by a train, right? So you got to ditch that conditional living thing, being like, oh, if I can just endure this, or if once I do this, then I can be myself, be happy, be free, start a business, really, really hug my loved ones. Like, oh, it feels so good. Like, yeah, once I'm really successful and rich and doing all this, like, then I'll do all those things. It's like, no, you have to shift out of that conditional living as well. Has that been
a challenge for you personally?
So in the beginning it was. In the beginning it was, especially when I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this fitness coaching job and I'm gonna work my way up, and then once I'm making six figures doing fitness stuff, I'm just gonna be super happy and I'm done. I'm just gonna do that for 50 years. And then when I got there, my intuition was like, no, this is just a stepping stone, man. And I'm like, oh, I thought I had it. And I tried to push it down and distract myself. And that's when I really get anxious. And that's when, some of these symptoms of depression and a lack of fulfillment set in, is when I hear it calling and I push it down. And I'm like, because really what's happening is fear is winning. So that conditional living is when you get rid of it, you leave yourself open to amazing opportunities, right? It's like, okay, this is important to me now. This is what I'm working on now. But again, it's like you made this contract with yourself that it you know, it's like that cheesy cliche. It's a journey, not a destination. Like it truly is. And the more you can fall in love with the process of wrestling with your fears and taking actions and learning as you go, that's when life becomes this huge win-win bulletproof situation.
Damn. Dude. So
right?
I don't want to get into like the vision of the Fearless Life Project and where you see it moving forward. Like what's the vision in the direction with that? Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously it is. So because right now it's primarily focused on, you know, entrepreneurs, creators, business owners. That's not everybody, right? Like,
of course.
Yes, right now it is formulated in such a way that it amplifies what they're doing. But yeah, in 5 years from now, you know, say you're just somebody who wants to be happier. You're someone who can see these tendencies of self-sabotage and know they're fear-based, but you don't know what to do about it, right? Like you're kind of aware the software sucks, but you have no idea what's going on. So in 5 years from now, there's a course you can do. There's a course you can go online and I will walk you through the entire thing, right? Like everything you need, all the basics are there so that, again, you can take control of your software. You know what to do when you get into these situations. So really making it broader and more accessible is where I really want to take this. So obviously there's a book. There's a book that you can read that it's like, this is the Fearless Life 101. I got this. Then there's a course, right? Like, okay, how do I take this book? How do I take these lessons and actually live them and integrate them? Oh, I do this course, right? And so at that point, like it's a book, it's a course, there's merchandise, right? Like, dude, I have a Fearless Life shirt on, and you have a Fearless Life shirt on, and dude, like we talked about this, like, and if we walked by each other at an airport, or at like a baseball game, I'd be like, you get it, man, right? Like,
yes.
Get it. You've taken that step. You've challenged the software. You get it. Like, if a riot breaks out, you got my back, right? Like that's the thing. So it's this. It's more accessible, and there's a community based around it. So that's where it's going. And obviously, like I said, right now I'm really focused on serving the entrepreneurial world because for me, it's like, okay, bang for your buck. Like, oh, if I can help an impact driven person make more impact. Awesome. We're both winning, right? Yes. Like, yes. And then obviously as I grow and scale, then it's like, how do I make sure that guy walking on the street who's really unfulfilled and doesn't know what to do, but knows there's more, like, how does he get more? This is how he gets more. And so just being able to be like, here's a book, here's a course, like you're covered for now. You're good for now. Like if you want to get higher level, I got you there too. Yeah. But like these two things, like start here, start here. And yeah. So that's where it is. That's where it is going. Yes. But like I said, that's the vision. It can unfold beautifully in totally different ways. But as long as I'm moving it forward, like I know the impact is going to magnify. And that's, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the goal, man. It's like, hey, as long as it's growing, as long as more people are being impacted by it, like, cool. You know
right, baby. Like, one life at a time, man. One life at a time. So we're beginning to wrap up, dude. And I just want to get like a core philosophy or like something that you live by that you really want to just empower and impact our audience with for these final couple words and moments our audience has with us, man.
Yeah. So I would really, truly, anyone listening, if anything has resonated with you, buy into your greatness, buy into your self-reliance. You don't need permission to listen to your intuition. You don't need permission to, like I said, envision what the greatest version of yourself looks like and start doing that. Like there are so many constraints we put upon ourselves, and obviously they are fear-based. And once you can start making decisions from a place of self-elevation versus self-preservation, that's when your entire life changes. Wow. Because if you can start to see every little decision, because most people right now, they default, right? They just have a default. So like, this is what I do. If you could start seeing every single decision as a little crossroads, and you could say, I could go elevation or preservation, elevation or preservation.
Wow.
And the more consistently you can choose elevation, just amazing things are going to happen in your life. Just trust that, because it will.
Should get that like tattooed on your arm, elevation, and then preservation, like cross out preservation.
Yeah. So that, dude, the book I'm writing is it's literally, it's called The X Method. And that, I mean, it's really just revolutionizing decision making.
Wow.
But that's the core. That's the core. It's like, you got to turn off autopilot, take that ownership. And then, like I said, every single decision you make, whether it's to wake up or snooze, whether it's to eat this or that, whether it's to compliment the stranger or to just kind of stay on your phone, or whether it's to start the business or to stay in the job you don't like, right? Like, there's always a self-elevation route and a self-preservation route. Always. Nothing's really neutral. And again, once you can actually start seeing this, and you can start tacking some wins in the elevation column, like, yep. Okay, I screwed up here, but yep. Right? Like, dude, the scoreboard will not lie. Your life will be amazing.
Damn. Beautiful, bro. So, Julian, this has been fiery, man. Bringing the fire to this audience. Everyone who's listening, Julian's about to share with you how you can stay connected with him. So, Julian, how do they stay connected with you, and what do we want them to do next?
Yeah, man. So, all social, I really take it upon myself to put out really quality value content every single day. So on Facebook, just find me. It's Julian Rosen. I got a shaved head, bald guy with tattoos. On Instagram, it's Julian_fearless life. And then on my website, I have full length episodes. Again, so you know, everything I'm talking about, just like boom, all in one place. And that is the-flp.com, and there's free resources you can download. Like I said, tons of videos. You can contact me personally through the website. But yeah, man, like obviously just social media and the website is where I'm really putting out my worof and I'm telling you, like, man, I really pour myself in most posts. Sometimes it's just my dog, but most of the time it's, if you read it on that day, like it's my intention that you can take what I'm writing and actually use it that day.
Dude, that's beautiful, man. Beautiful. Everyone, definitely stay connected with Julian. This dude is bringing the heat and sharing the gold. So if you want to stay connected with a powerhouse, as much fire as Chris Burns here, I swear, dude, you're so fiery. It's gnarly. Like, I'm like,
I don't know.
I gotta up my energy. Gotta up it.
I just want to say one thing, like, anybody watching, do not take what he's doing for granted. It just doesn't show up and do this, right? Like, the planning and the organizing of the guests to the execution to the, like, this dude is giving his life and energy to you. So if you're a regular watcher, a regular tuner inner, like, man, you guys have gotten gold here. There's not too many people out there like him. There's a lot of people out there that say they're like him and that say that's their intention, but very few walk that walk. So, dude, I will sing your praises any day of the week. I will come on here and spit fire any day of the week, because this platform is what the world needs, 100%.
Dude, 100%. Another amazing, epic interview of becoming your greatest possible self. Julian, you are the man. Thank you so much for the work that you do in the world, and we are definitely staying on the journey together. Burning it up, baby. Being 100%. Fearless and crushing it, man. Let's keep it up.
Dude, 100%, man. Crush the rest of this show. Keep it up. Man, this shit's fire.
Promise, dude. Promise. All right, man. We will see you soon, okay?
See you, brother.